Welcome to the second installment of the 30-Minute Drill. I'm Frankie Terranova alongside Maros, Ademac, and Alec Oppenheim. Today, we are going to discuss the past week in the NFL, along with some players you need to get for your Week 3 fantasy. We will also talk about the postseason race in the MLB and Wayne Hill's boys soccer. So this week in Week 2, a lot of great teams played and there were a lot of anticipated games. If we could see that graphic, the Vikings, Steelers, and Patriots both started off at 2-0, with the Patriots and Vikings both losing their starting quarterbacks in the preseason for various reasons. But the game we'll start off with is the Jets and Bills. Really, the Jets have a really great team with a strong offense led by Matt Forte. But they need to have to be able to put away subpar teams like the Bills. So, Maros, what is your key for the Jets to put away bad teams like the Buffalo Bills?
Frankie, with a group like the Jets, I feel like at the start of the season there were a lot of questions going in with Fitzpatrick's second year, put up record numbers last year. You don't know if he could repeat those career highs so late into his NFL playing career. Matt Forte, you'd have fans questioning whether or not he's going to make it injury-free this season with the wear and tear he always gets with all those touches. And I feel like this win against the Bills was really reassuring. It answered a lot of doubts Jets fans had going into this season. It proved that in tight situations in the fourth quarter against teams that you really should be beating over the course of an NFL season, like the Bills, the Jets answered some questions, and I feel like as the season progresses and as this group gels a little more, you're going to have less and less of those tense situations where you're playing in a close game against a team you should be smacking into the gridiron here.
Definitely, exactly. Now off to the biggest game of this week, the Bengals and Steelers, both playoff contenders, and specifically the Steelers being Super Bowl contenders, as they're led by D'Angelo Williams, who Father Time can't seem to affect. He keeps getting better and better every week as he ages. So, Alec, what do you think the Steelers have to do to put that Lombardi trophy back in the hall for the Steelers?
Oh, I agree that D'Angelo Williams has been phenomenal. On the Panthers, he was all right. Then when the Steelers signed him to like a 2-year contract, he's been fantastic. He's been really helping the Steelers when they couldn't use Le'Veon Bell because of the suspensions or the injuries. I think that for them to really become a Super Bowl contender, they need to buckle down. Their defense really needs to buckle down. Their secondary, they drafted a cornerback in the first round this year, and he's been pretty good.
Laramie Tunsil, catch the first episode of 30-Minute Drill on YouTube. Alec?
And also they need Antonio Brown to be fantastic every week. Like week 1 against the Redskins, he was phenomenal. But week 2, the Bengals sort of shut him down. He only got a few receptions.
Yeah. Antonio Brown definitely due for a big game in fantasy. We'll talk about that a little later. But if we could see that graphic again, the Vikings and Packers, another division-leading clash between these two teams. But the Vikings came out on top, just like they did last year. A really well-led team with Stephon Diggs really having a night. 182 yards with a touchdown on 9 receptions. Definitely something fantasy owners are definitely happy about. But Maros, what do you think this game would have become if the Vikings have Adrian Peterson out now? Without Adrian Peterson, do you think they still win the division?
Not only Adrian Peterson, but just like with the Jets, the Vikings happen to be coincidentally another roster where there's just so many questions. Starting off the year with Teddy Bridgewater obviously suffering the torn ACL, having to sign Sam Bradford, Adrian Peterson going down. So with a stunning performance almost, if I could call it that, against the Packers, and Stephon Diggs coming seemingly out of nowhere to produce 182 receiving yards and a touchdown, I feel like if the Packers somehow miraculously, I'm going to call it that, sorry Vikings fans, go into the mindset of taking it week by week and not really looking towards the end of the season, I feel like come week 15, week 16, you could find the Vikings in a position where a few games over 500 and looking to take the division crown. You obviously can't count out the Packers because they're going to be division favorites year in, year out, but I mean, this is a good preview for what looks to be a pretty tight playoff race come here towards the end of the season.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers leading that Green Bay Packers team, but now Sam Bradford taking the reins for the Vikings. Really had a great game. But on to our last game for the week. A major week 2 injury to Jimmy Garoppolo, who had an average rating of over 115 in his first 2 games. So now Jacoby Brissett will be taking over as Julian Edelman will become the backup quarterback for the Patriots, which shows the depth in their idea of the next man up. But Alec, what do you think the Patriots have to do in this game and the next game for week 3 and 4 to give Brady a winning record when he comes back, whether that's 3-1 or possibly 4-0?
Well, I'm going to be up front here. I think they're going to lose to the Texans. But Jacoby Brissett, I don't think he has enough experience against that good Texans team. What they have to focus on is the rushing attack. They have to give it to Blunt they gave it to Blunt a lot last week, and it worked. He had over 100 yards. He had a pair of touchdowns, I think.
I believe one, yeah.
Okay. And Julian Edelman, he could play quarterback. He played in college. He threw a touchdown pass in the playoffs last year.
In the Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah. And I think their defense is set. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. This will become a tight race later in the year between the Jets and the Patriots. Well, that's it for the Week 2 rundown. When we come back, we will be sharing our top fantasy picks with injury reports for Week 3. Welcome back to the 30-minute drill. Welcome to our fantasy football segment where we are going to talk about the top players for Week 3. Now there's some major injuries in Week 3 as Adrian Peterson suffered a torn meniscus against the Packers but will some way still win the rushing title. Jimmy Garoppolo went down Sunday and ended up with a bum shoulder. I guess this is yet another opportunity for the Pats to showcase yet another franchise quarterback. Josh McCown went to the locker room Sunday against the Ravens with a shoulder injury. Now there are more Browns quarterbacks than there are Browns fans. Jonathan Stewart left Sunday's game with a hamstring injury, and Fozzie Whitaker took the reins and had 100 rushing yards and 16 carries. Now, Maros, there are a lot of great players in the NFL, but who are some that stand out to you or either don't stand out to you for people to avoid in Week 3 for fantasy?
Being torched by him this weekend, I could definitely say that Wayne Hill's alumni Greg Olsen is really tearing it up on the fantasy football fields there. I mean, if we could see that graphic, this week he had that monster, I think, 72-yard reception with 122 yards and a touchdown from 5 receptions. And that's all following a Week 1 where not the best of performances, but then again, at 7 points, I feel like, respectable for a tight end. You want anywhere between 7s to, low mid-teens. So I feel like Greg Olsen's a consistent player who can get you solid numbers, and it's always nice to have a Wayne Hills alumni on your fantasy team.
Yeah, definitely. So, Alec, who is your guy to avoid for Week 3 in fantasy? Some guy that if you put him on your roster, you're going to lose.
I'm going to have to take Des Bryant with this one. Sorry, Cowboy fans, but Week 1 he was atrocious. He had 1 reception for 8 yards. That is just not good enough to start. And Week 2, he was a bit better. He caught 7 balls for 102 yards. If we could see that Des Bryant graphic.
102 yards, I mean, some people think that's respectable, but when you look deeper into the stats, you see 7 for 12 receiving and still no touchdowns through 2 weeks. And you can't forget the intangibles there. He had that 1 huge drop in the end zone. And with a rookie quarterback like Dak Prescott after Tony Romo going down, I mean, if you want to be a consistently solid player in the NFL in terms of receiving numbers, you got to make sure you take as many opportunities as you can when they come up. Because unfortunately, I mean, it's just facts in the NFL. With rookies, you're going to get opportunities that are few and far between for putting up touchdowns.
Yeah, definitely. And with all these injuries, too, a lot of guys will be coming up, like McKinnon, Charles Sims replacing Doug Martin. A lot of guys to look out for, some sleeper picks, whether you're going to get burned by them or you're going to burn your opponents this week in fantasy. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we will be discussing the MLB postseason picture. Is this the year we have a 3-way tie for the wild card?
This broadcast is brought to you in part by Positano Pizza, the finest Italian cuisine and pizzeria. Show us your Wayne Hill student ID to get 2 slices of pizza or a bowl of pasta plus a drink for only $5.
Welcome back. Now, let's take a look at the MLB postseason picture. With about 2 weeks left in the regular season, a lot is still left unwritten for the playoff picture in the MLB. The only team that has a spot in the playoffs is the Cubs, as they clinch their division over the Cardinals and Pirates, both making a run for the wild card. Now, there's a lot of X-Factor players, if we can see that graphic, for this playoff race. It's really tight, as we have guys like Encarnacion, Trumbo. Who are your X-Factors for this year's wild card?
I'm going to have to say Trumbo, Cespedes, and Encarnacion. Trumbo, the Orioles signed him to a one-year deal, and he has been fantastic. He wasn't expected to do much, and he made the All-Star game. He's been fantastic. Can we see that graphic again, actually? He has 43 home runs, over 100 RBIs. That's really good. Encarnacion, he's been fantastic on the Blue Jays. He's a really good first baseman. Consecutive years, he's hit over 40 home runs, over 100 RBIs again. And Cespedes has been really good, too.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of great players, both in the AL and the NL. But the NL wildcard race is really what we're going to focus on. It's a really tight one, as this could be the year that we see a three-way tie in the wildcard between the Mets, Giants, and the Cardinals. But the Mets losing a lot of pitching. Maros, what are your thoughts on that?
It was unfortunate with the Mets with Matt Harvey right off the bat, high expectations coming back from the TJ, and really disappointing people. Had that stint in the minors and then never really the same after. Obviously, I have DeGrom and Matz both going down. Syndergaard really the only one out there left on the mound with some, all-star talent. And then in the same conference, you have San Francisco starting out absolutely shattering all expectations, just playing San Francisco baseball. Obviously, there'd be a World Series staple there for a while. And that absolutely post-All-Star break has been disappointing. So it should be a lot of drama from both ends of the U.S. The Cardinals, with Wainwright really disappointing, not being what he was supposed to be, and their troubles at home, really playing better away than at the St. Louis Park. And so, from all three angles of this wild card race, you really get interesting stories, and it should be cool to see how it ends up going into playoff time.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors with the Giants. Their pitching staff doing very well. This is an even year for them. They've won the past 3 even years for the World Series. The Mets, hopefully Syndergaard can carry them into the playoffs. But that's it for the MLB postseason picture. Stay tuned because we'll be talking about the Wayne Hills boys soccer team and the success stars like Jake Samiski bring to the team. We'll be right back.
For more information on advertising on Wayne Hills TV, contact Mr. Hookstraight at jhookstraight@wayneschools.com.
Welcome back to the Wayne Hills boys soccer segment of the 30-minute drill. The Wayne Hills boys soccer team coming off a really strong start to the season at 4-1-1, led by Jake Samiski and Austin Conrado. If we can see that graphic, Jake Samiski now has not 5 but 7 goals as he scored 2 yesterday against St. Joe's. So, Maros, what do you think, or what are some expectations you have for the Wayne Hills soccer team?
Wayne Hills soccer in general, both boys and girls, have had a really strong start to this season, coming out as county, league, and potentially state playoff contenders. And expectations for the boys soccer team is nothing but up from here. You have a 4-1-1 record to show, answering any questions going into the year, an absolute smattering of what some consider a powerful soccer team in St. Joe's, being a private school. You got great performances from Samiski, like you said, and Austin Conrado on defense, with the team and himself personally clean sheets against both Lakeland and PV. So, with an especially strong girls side vying for a taste of championships, you'd have equal pressure from the boys to create a really solid winning atmosphere for the end of the season. And I think expectations are win-win-win for boys soccer this year.
Yeah, the offensive side of the ball has been really great with Jake Samiski, who does have 5 goals in the last 2 games, one of them being three goals in 1 game, a hat trick. But really the defensive side of the ball has been an unsung story for the Wayne Hills boys soccer team as they shut out Lakeland and Passaic Valley, led by goalie Nico Torelli, who had 7 saves 2 games ago when the hat trick occurred. So, Alec, any final thoughts you have for the Wayne Hills boys soccer team?
They're an all-around good team. Other than that one heartbreaking loss to Wayne Valley a few weeks ago, they have been really good. It's only up from there. And their defense is really good. And as you said, Nico Torelli, 7 saves that game. He's only a junior, so they're going to have him next year. But a problem is most of their team is full of seniors, so they're going to be losing a lot of players next year. And with
obviously one of the last years to capitalize for the squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys like Pat Holt and Zaim will have to step up for the squad for hopes of even continuing their success into next year. Well, thank you for watching the 30-minute drill. I'm Frankie Terranova alongside Alec Oppenheim and Maros Ademac, and we'll see you next week for another installment of the 30-minute drill.